G'day Team Mac, Pete Bowman here, and hello to you all, and welcome to Sunday afternoon. It's Sunday afternoon where I am anyway, where it is you are. Could be Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday or Friday, but today it's Sunday and I'm enjoying a lovely long weekend here in Adelaide, visiting, which is fantastic. And you might think, what's the topic for this week? Well, it's focus. And I got a phone call during the week from young Don McKenna, and he said, Big Pete Mac wants me to talk about focus, and I know exactly why he wants me to talk about focus. When you're unfocused, as I have been for some period of time, he probably understood from the conversation I had at summer conference it was about getting refocused. So let's spend a few minutes together talking about focus, and it's ironic that here I am sitting underneath a picture which you can see above me, which is of the Sydney Olympic Games back in 2000, and you know, you wouldn't believe it, that's 13 years ago. And when I was looking at this picture this morning, I was thinking about the athletes who competed in the Sydney Olympics, and I'm thinking, so what is it about an athlete that helps them to sustain focus for maybe 4, 8, 12 years to achieve not necessarily success in winning a gold, silver or bronze medal, but just to compete, to actually go through the process of day in and day out, doing the training that's required to actually qualify for their country to compete at the Olympic Games. See, focus is, I think one of the things I've noticed is that in our everyday lives, there's so many distractions that are involved in our lives that we actually have a lot of trouble focusing on what's important. In fact, a lot of the time the priorities in our lives are actually determined by other people. In fact, we become part of their focus rather than us being focusing on what our priorities are. So I'll give you some experience from what I've learned over the last probably 6 to 12 months. And just for those of you who've never met me before, I qualified as an emerald in this business back in 2003, which is nearly 10 years ago. And through the last 4 or 5 years, I've had what I would call life's distractions, you know, family issues, parents ageing, a whole range of things that can distract you from what's important in life. And my whole experience suddenly became 6 or 8 conflicting priorities. And to be fair, this business became probably the least important of the things that I had on my plate. And as a consequence, without the focus on the business, one thing you can't do is manage growth. And so what I had to come to the conclusion was, prior to summer conference this year, was if I was going to achieve the things I believed I was capable of achieving in this industry, I actually had to shift some of those priorities off my radar. I actually had to take control again of my calendar and be focused on what I could do in my life in relation to this business. Is it the only thing I do? No. But it's one of the things that I've learned over that 4 to 5 year period. It's the only thing that I do that creates an income that not only for today, but for tomorrow, the next day and the day after. I was having a chat with a really good friend of mine this morning about leveraged income and about how, you know, having a job is almost impossible to achieve that. But having a business like this allows you to create a cash flow that will support you years into the future. So part about being focused, I came up with the analogy, let's look at the words focus, F being future, O being outcomes, C being create, U being unbelievable, and S being successes. So future, outcomes, create, unbelievable successes. And what I mean by that is that if you don't have a goal or a reason for putting a business like this together, then your results will reflect that. And so what I realised is that first of all I had to identify what it was that was critical for me from a goals perspective. And once I identified those, how I could then focus in on them. And I'll give you a great example from when I was a kid. Many of you have maybe done this where you've got the magnifying glass out and you know you're doing the scientific experiment where you get the gum leaf and you get the magnifying glass. And initially, when you first shine it on the leaf, it's a wide focus, very little energy. But the more you narrow the focus, the more powerful that light energy becomes. You get ignition and suddenly a flame coming out of the leaf. And it's very much like this. If your focus is very wide, you'll actually not achieve much in life. If you want to achieve something specific, you need to have a very narrow focus on its outcome. And I used this just recently. I was looking at one of my health goals and I thought, gee, you know, over the last 17 months I've put on 10 kilos. I've gone from 90 kilos to 100 kilos. And I look fantastic at 100 kilos, but I realised that life had actually allowed me, you know, just through circumstances, I put on 10 kilos. So I made a decision I talked to my personal trainer about this. And I made a decision early January or mid-January that my goal weight was to get down to 94 kilos, which is to take off 6 kilos. And so what happened was the moment I made that decision to lose 6 kilos, the weight started to come off immediately. In fact, in 6 weeks, I've taken off 3.5 kilos. And that's what I mean by focus. So whether it's in this business, whether it's in health, whether it's been in relationships, whether it be anything in life, if you focus, you'll achieve what you're chasing. I'll see you again soon. Bye now.